it's lifestyle change and it's, nutrients and supplements. So
Totally.
the first thing is sweating, whether that's sauna or exercise. I mean, sauna is ideal because you're going to sweat a lot more. But if you're just sweating out toxins from your skin, like that's the most absorbent tissue and organ that we've got, as humans. If we sweat out toxins through the skin, it's going to help take off a big burden from the liver from needing to detox. So the
Right.
liver and the whole body will use so much energy just to detox out from the blood in the liver. But if you're sweating things out, it just frees up a lot of energy. And we know how good that feels to the brain and
Hmm.
just the whole body when you sweat and you cleanse it out. So regular consistent sauna, there's a study in Europe basically looking at if a person's doing 4 20-minute sauna sessions a week, it's significantly correlated with lower dementia and Alzheimer's rates.
Do you want to wake up feeling like you're stepping into who you're meant to be, into the best possible version of you? What if I told you that the key to your best life, health, and happiness are all around you? You just have to find what works for you. I'm Hope Pedraza, and I believe that there isn't just one way to live a healthy and meaningful life, and that all you need is a little inspiration to make changes that last from the inside out. Each week, I'll be sharing tangible tips and inspirational interviews to help you on your journey. These are the steps to take to improve your life and live with purpose. This is Hopeful and Wholesome.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome. Today, I have on the show Lance Schuttler. He is the CEO and owner of Ascent Nutrition, which is a really unique holistic nutrition company. He's also a contributing health and wellness writer at the Epoch Times. And Lance has studied health science for a long time, which led him to create Ascent Nutrition, which we're going to talk about. And he knows a lot about what goes into making quality supplements using botanicals, herbs, adaptogenics, all these really cool superfoods. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Lance has so much knowledge on really these superfoods that are out there that are really the key to longevity, to preventing chronic illness, and even healing from chronic illness. So we're going to talk about these. We talk about some that you might have never heard of before. And he's going to tell us the science behind all of this, how to get your hands on it, benefits of all of these things. I mean, honestly, we could have talked for hours because there's so much to learn about what's out there, like what is out in nature that is really helping keep our bodies running optimally. And Lance is going to get all into that. So let's jump in. Yo, let's jump in. I'm here with Lance, and I'm excited to learn. And really, honestly, I told him I have questions I selfishly want to ask just because I want to know the answers, but I'm really just excited to just pick his brain and ask lots of questions. And that's what we're going to do. So thank you so much for joining us today, Lance.
Thank you for having me, Hope. I'm also very excited for this. I know it's going to be a fun and insightful conversation for all of us.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to kind of start with you sharing your story because you have this company, Ascent Nutrition, that we're going to talk about. But I would love for you to just share your journey and what led you into getting in this field of health and wellness and wanting to start a company like this.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Hope. So 15 years ago, I was 19 at the time, and I was in college, just my first year in school. And I was studying pre-physical therapy, pre-chiropractic. I didn't quite know exactly what I wanted to do, but in the health and wellness field. And I had played sports in high school, so I was always active and really interested in working out and just having fun and staying in good shape. So I got more serious into that. I had a really, great roommate who was a bodybuilder, and so he helped to teach me some, basic principles around exercise, strength training, sleep, lifestyle, mindset, nutrition, all the things and how they all sort of connect. And so I was learning those things. And during that winter, I had a family member who was not feeling the best mentally. So he had never really been on any pharmaceuticals, but that particular winter was just really not feeling well. And so he went to his doctor, was put on an antidepressant, and then was switched a few different times over a handful of months. And he ended up taking his life. And
Mm.
so that was, the big wake up call for me,
Mm.
my family, and, many people around us. And so that was the catalyst for me to start looking deeper into medicine and healthcare and the whole system and really starting to ask questions that I didn't even know I really should be asking and just wasn't even aware of. But, it started that process and that path for me to start questioning and looking for answers of what is mental health, what is happiness, what is the brain's role, what is nutrition's role in all of this. And so that started the path, and quickly just started learning about a lot of different natural methods, nutrients, amino acids, herbs, different compounds that can modulate in beneficial ways the brain. And so it started me down that path. And once I did graduate from school, from University of Iowa, then I started working in the nutraceutical field in different capacities. And I started learning a lot of different modalities and uh, information around nootropics, again, herbs, amino acids, all the natural products, and started getting a foundational understanding of what that can do for the body and how it can help us heal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what did you want to do? So you have your own company, right? Ascent Nutrition. What did you want to do differently with your company than, like, you saw what was out there and you studied? What did you want to do differently with yours?
Yeah, so it relates back into this story. And so one of my biggest interests is neurogenesis and neuroplasticity and just brain health and cognitive health in general. And so that interest arose, from this situation with my family member. And I started learning about those concepts and really becoming intrigued around nootropics and brain health in general. So started using a lot of different herbs and nutrients myself. And from there, I started really seeing that this industry and this market is very robust in terms of so many different products out there,
Mhm.
very high quality ones. There's middle quality, poor quality. So I started learning about just this process and this industry as a whole, and learning how to create products that are truly going to differentiate and actually have therapeutic effects. So the whole point is we want to come from an angle of sourcing things as pure as possible and making them as clean as possible so that they actually can have the most therapeutic effects for the body. And that's the ultimate goal, is to actually have these nutrients profoundly physiologically affect us in beneficial ways.
Right.
You could view it as medicine. We're not saying that we're prescribing medicine, but we want to have, medicinal effects in the body with some of these products. And, for some people, we are having those effects. But
Yeah.
kind of coming back to your question, like it's all around the sourcing and the way of just offering things that are truly pure and unique and clean.
Mhm.
And, we can talk about some of those specifics later on, but that's really the premise of where it is and really just simply just trying to offer the best, because I'm such connoisseur of different nootropics and herbs and products, and I've seen, very high quality stuff. So I know what the standards are for me personally,
Yeah.
and we want to offer that same to people as well.
Yeah. No, I love that. And there is a huge difference. I did a workshop at my studio a couple weeks ago about it was like supplements 101, and we were talking about it. And the point I was trying to get across to them is like, most of the time, like generally speaking, you get what you pay for, and you buy the cheap supplements and you're just getting crap, really. Like there's just a lot of times there's no benefit to them at all. So I think knowing that, I mean, that's the the standard that you're setting for your company is just like the quality, because it does make a huge difference. And you've mentioned a few times about nootropics. Can you explain to everybody what that is?
Yeah. So they're either compounds or herbs or nutrients, just products or supplements in general that enhance cognitive function. So it can have different mechanisms. It can improve memory or recall, kind of depending on exactly what neurotransmitters are being modulated. There can have, or there can be neurogenic effects, such as like with lion's mane and several different herbs, where the neurons are actually strengthening the connections between themselves. The axons and dendrites are strengthening that connection, or you're actually having new growth of neurons themselves. So neurogenesis, generating new neurons. And, that's sort of tying into the concept of Limitless in that movie from some years back, where, he takes a pill and he gets full access to his brain. Now, it's
Right.
obviously not quite like that with these products, but for sure we know, and it's very simple, just on a fundamental level, that if you take certain herbs or get certain nutrients into the body, it is going to chemically shift your brain. And a lot of times these are in really beneficial ways. So, it's really, you could call them smart herbs or smart products, smart drugs. People call them, they're not drugs, but that's a name that some people call them, but really just nutrients that maximize cognitive function
Mm-hmm.
to help us in many different ways.
What do you find, and you mentioned lion's mane just then, but what do you find are, maybe several, two or three of the most potent ones that you find like people have the biggest, like see the biggest impact from?
Yeah, lion's mane mushroom for sure. An omega-3 combination, so DHA and EPA, especially DHA. Um, and then sometimes we've got a lot of people, and this is also from feedback from not even my company, but when I did health coaching and, suggested other people's products, and now we've got our own that we're, utilizing, but humic and fulvic acid,
Mm,
specifically fulvic acid, because it's a super potent antioxidant and electrolyte. And so it provides this electrical charge to the cells, specifically to the mitochondria. So it's helping the electron transport chain to make more ATP, detox, chelate heavy metals, do all sorts of different things physiologically. And people really feel that sort of combination. But, in general, too, there's so many other great herbs. Rhodiola, I've personally used that for 12, 13 years, and I've used it for cognitive health and also athletic performance and recovery. Ginkgo biloba, a lot of people know about that.
mm.
Gotu kola, ginseng, those are all great herbs. Bacopa, um, B vitamins, all those different things really help the brain.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned DHEA, which I did want to ask you about, because you have algae oil and as a supplement in your company. And it's interesting. And I was listening to, I don't remember what other podcast it was, listening to a podcast, and there was this guy who's done like a gajillion like papers and research and stuff on DHA. But he was specifically talking about like omega 3s. But when you're looking at DHA, like specifically looking at DHA, in your opinion, because well, I guess if we could look at it broadly, if we could say omegas, we're looking at it, right? There's fish oil and there's algae oil, right? So I would love to know your take on it. And maybe do you have fish oil in your company as well as algae oil? Do you have both, or do you just have the algae oil?
Just algae oil.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'd love to know why. And that was my question, because and I looked on your site. I didn't see it, but I wanted to ask you to make sure I wasn't going to speak out of turn. But I would love to know why you chose to go the fish or the algae oil route versus the fish oil route.
Yes. Okay. So the biggest reason is that it's most efficient. So fish eat algae to incorporate those omega-3s, the DHA and EPA, into their cellular membranes. And so when we as humans either consume fish as food or we take in the supplement form of an omega-3 product, we're getting those omega-3s, the DHA and EPA. There's nothing wrong with that. It's what we are doing, and we aren't anti-fish. We're not, nothing like that. It's just simply that what we can do is we can grow the algae, which is the source of the omega.
Mm-hmm.
So we cut out the middle person of the fish and fish oil, and we
Right.
go to the source.
Right.
So the source is algae, and then we water extract that. So we keep it super pure and clean, and we get a very potent ratio of DHA to EPA. So 1,000 milligrams of DHA to 10 of EPA. But along these lines too, people know that there's other algae oil companies out there, but we don't use seed oils to mix or preserve this oil as well. And so
Mm-hmm.
you can look at our label. We actually show the COA on the website as well. We are very proud of this because we want to show people the truth of what's in here,
Mm-hmm.
in that it's just the omega-3s and 22 other fatty acids, and then an antioxidant to help stabilize. It's already stable as is, but we add that in as extra precaution just because, sometimes a bottle will sit around for a little while.
Sure.
It's a natural substance, and it's an antioxidant, and that's it. If you look at other algae oil companies, all of them, they're going to have other seed oils or other things in there that you don't need. So
Right.
we wanted to create the cleanest omega-3 product and actually be able to stand by that statement and not just, pull it out of thin air.
Yeah.
We've got the COA to show that, and you can see on there, you compare other products. We have the cleanest one out there. And again, I say this, it's a big statement for sure, but we spent 2.5 years formulating this, doing this so that we could make that statement authentically and not just,
Right.
just for fun.
Right. Well, and I love that. I mean, and again, it goes back to what you're saying before. Like the standard you set for yourself is I want to have the best quality. And I like too, because you mentioned 1,000 milligrams. And this is what I thought was interesting when I was whatever, I can't remember the guy's name that was talking about his studies and stuff he'd done and talking about how most people don't get enough DHA, or I guess both of it, right? It's DHA, EPA, but the omega 3s in general, like they don't get enough. And a lot of supplements don't offer, like, he was saying if you're taking, pretty sure that the level he said was at 1,000, then it's really not doing a whole lot. So I'd just love to know your thoughts on like people getting enough. And like, from what I remember him saying, the more active you are, then the more that you need. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yes, definitely. So some great research has come from a company called Omega Quant, and this Bill Harris is the guy's name,
Mm-hmm.
and he's very proficient and knowledgeable on omega 3. He's done a lot of studies. They don't sell an omega 3 product, so they really have unbiased information,
Right.
which is great. And there's
Yeah.
so many top tier universities that are referencing them. Everything that they published, and they're again sourcing from PubMed and just analyzing the different studies. The last that I've read from Omega Quant is that it's 2,000 milligrams or so
Mm,
per day for an average adult to consume to actually be able to raise that omega 3 percentage. It's called the omega 3 index percentage, and it's testing the amount of saturation of these fatty acids into the red blood cell membranes. And
mhm.
so 95% of Americans are deficient in omega 3s. Even if you're consuming a bunch of fish
Right.
throughout the week, it's very hard to get 2 grams of omega 3s per day. So that's
Yeah.
14 grams a week. You would have to consume salmon on an average salmon size of serving about 3 ounces. You would have to consume about 7 to 14 servings of salmon per week
Holy
just to
cow.
get that amount of omega 3s.
That's insane.
Yes, and so no one's doing that.
No.
Maybe a handful of people, but even if you love fish, people in general don't want to consume that
Yeah, it's a
amount
lot of
a week.
fish. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, people can reference all these numbers that I'm citing. We've got some articles that we've written talking about this stuff, but
Mhm.
the point being, 1 to 2 grams over time for an average adult, on the higher end of 2 grams. They've done studies where athletes are doing 3 or 4 grams or
Oh,
five
wow.
grams a day,
Hmm.
and it's definitely safe. As body weight goes up, you can consume a little bit more, but definitely if you're physically active, it's super important.
Yeah.
DHA specifically has been shown in studies on athletes to increase motor reaction speed, hand-eye
Oh,
coordination,
wow.
reduce muscle soreness, increase just overall flexibility and malleability of the body,
Hmm.
and really just a stronger neurotransmission. So it
Yeah.
helps in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Um, so that's sort of, the information on that, why the fish or why the algae oil versus the fish, just
Hmm.
cutting out the middle person and going straight to the source.
Yeah. Is there a point with the omega 3s? Is there a point where there's too much, like where you're taking too much? Is there like a threshold where you're taking too much?
So it's a really good question. And I've picked the brains of multiple scientists on this, asking them because there's differentiating information. But the best answer that I've got is that a person, regardless of their body weight, like, yes, it does go up as a person's body weight goes up, but it's
Right.
not linear. And so a person will cap out around 5 to 6 grams a day. But if you're
Okay.
consuming more than that, the cells aren't really able to take that in,
Take it in.
that
Yeah.
amount per
Hmm.
day in that form.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just pee it out like you would water soluble. Like what happens? Is it just your body just doesn't absorb it? So you just let go of it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Interesting. I've always wondered that because I know, there's a lot of minerals, like there's too much, such a thing as too much vitamin D and other minerals, but I've always wondered about their omegas. That's interesting that threshold. But the other thing I wanted to ask you about, because and that one of the things that I do love about your supplements, and I've like, scoured your website, and I'm like, I am a sucker for supplements. Like, I just like to learn. I like to see what everybody's doing. And so, looking at your website, and I like that you offer so many different like, or not different, it's not the word, unique things that a lot of other supplements, like you talked about humic and fulvic acid, which I was going to ask you about that you already mentioned, but you have a lot of unique things that a lot of other supplement companies aren't doing. And one of the things that I saw on there that, and you've talked about it on y'all's Instagram page before, was the pine pollen like tincture. So I'd love for you to talk about that because I'm super intrigued by the pine pollen.
Yes, yes. So I was looking for nature's highest source of DHEA. So we just
Mm.
spoke about DHA and EPA. This is DHEA, and this is, sometimes referred to as a master hormone. It's an anabolic hormone, but it's also the happiness hormone and lutein hormone. There's a lot of names for it because it does a lot of different things. And the reason is that it's such a hormone that it can actually branch down and create male or female hormones based off of that. And so it's really powerful and foundational for, both men and women. And so I was looking for nature's highest source, and I eventually came across the fact that pine pollen is loaded in DHEA. It's also abundant in glutathione, SOD, superoxide dismutase, phosphatidylcholine, MSM, all sorts of different, really interesting, powerful compounds. And so I started learning about it, taking it, and felt benefits myself, and really just wanted to get that out there because I was really into, all of this stuff, and I hadn't even heard of this. Like, this was years into, my journey before I even heard of pine pollen. And when I did, I thought, wow, I think that there's probably not that many people that know about it. So I want to help, get this out there.
Yeah.
And so that began the journey and the process of, doing the work before forming the company, then forming it and getting that out there. But in general, it's nature's highest source of DHEA and other steroids that men and women can benefit from. So it's great for libido and balancing hormone health. Either way. So if you're low, it can help boost it. If you're high, it can actually help modulate it. And it sounds counterintuitive that it wouldn't do that, but these are ancient Chinese medicines that they've been using for 2,000 years, and they've used it to treat people in many different ways. And this is like one of the strongest tonics that is out there. So it builds chi, it builds life force. You can definitely feel it. And it's got 200 different nutrients in it that we can use. And so it really is, a powerful superfood that's abundant in so many interesting and powerful compounds.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I mean, honestly, I've never heard of it until I saw it on your website either. So I don't think there's many, if anybody else that's doing that. And that's why I was so intrigued by it. Like, because you hear bee pollen, like, people do bee pollen, and I know there's benefits to that, but I just thought it was super unique seeing that y'all had the pine pollen. It was not something that I've seen before. When you're looking at, and this is a big question, but so you can answer it however you want to. But when you're looking at the spectrum of, supplements, botanicals, all that, for someone who's looking at like the best things they could take for maintenance, right? Just, optimal living, optimal performance, energy, just maintenance. Not like I'm trying to heal these things and bounce things out, but just maintenance. What would be like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 that you would recommend? Like, these are the things that we should always be taking just for maintenance.
Yeah, that's another great question. So this ties in directly with, why the company was started and why we chose certain products to offer. Because going back to when I was doing health coaching, I would often suggest, several of the same products for people because it would help in different ways and address different issues. So it was with the knowledge and experience of that and getting feedback from people in real life of, hey, this is working, this maybe isn't the best, or this is a little bit better, and coming to that knowledge. And so the two that jump off the page right away are the algae oil DHA, that omega-3 product, because again, they're essential fatty acids. We have to get them in the diet. And they're especially important for mothers, nursing mothers, pregnant mothers, and children, because, especially the children and the babies, their brains and their whole nervous system, the whole body is developing. And that DHA is an actual physical component of neurons. And so it's not like it's an herb where it's going to modulate like neurotransmitters. it's an actual building block of neurons. And that goes just the same for a person who's 95. Like that person needs it just as much as the baby. But, preferentially, the baby is definitely going to be getting that. And, that's ideal to be giving the children and young ones a good, abundant source of that. So getting those in the diet, because it's foundational. All those, like we need to get those in the diet. So that's just great for maintenance, but also building and repairing. And then the humic and fulvic acid, because the fulvic and humic should be in the soil, and it is some even in organics, but not the way that it was even just 100 years ago in the soil. And so if you can add this in, you're actually getting these powerful acids that we normally should be getting from the food because it's in the soil and the plants will uptake them.
Right.
But we don't. And even if you're eating organic as much as possible, you will be getting some, but it's a much different experience when you're actually supplementing with a concentrated dose of the humic and fulvic. You can feel it. I mean, a short little testimonial on this, and I say this because it's so powerful on that humic and fulvic. We had a lady who she had been using the product just 1 month. And before she began, she had psoriasis on her skin. She had it for 30 plus years.
Oh, wow.
Swelling in her joints and her hands. And she also took a magnet and put it up to her chest and her torso and was testing herself to see if the magnet would stick. And I don't know why she was doing this. She just intuitively did it. And it would stick. So then after the bottle, her psoriasis peeled, completely went away. The swelling in her joints completely went away.
Wow.
And the magnet no longer stuck to her chest or torso. And so, we would have to go through extensive testing to actually like physically prove this. But what we're leaning towards is that, I mean, it definitely helped her psoriasis, and it probably pulled and chelated heavy metals out of her because that magnet wasn't sticking anymore.
Right.
And that's the purpose behind it, is to add minerals and nutrients into the diet and then also pull out waste. So that's why I say that that's a foundational, fundamental one. I would basically suggest that product to almost every person that would do the health coaching.
Yeah.
And it was like always the number one thing, and people always kept coming back to use it. So we've got great results from it. Done that even before this company, had great results just with humic and fulvic in general. And that's, what we're doing with it. So I'd say those two. You could look at the pine pollen, but I think it's a longer conversation, but those two are definitely foundational.
Top two. Yeah, that makes total sense. As I know you do a lot with, you talked about your kind of the origin of all of this was you talking about mental health and brain health and all of that. So when we're looking at brain health, and you've talked about the nootropics and all that, as far as like aging and the things, obviously DHA, because we've talked about that and how we need that for an aging brain. But as far as aging and keeping things like dementia or Alzheimer's, like these kind of neurological things that are like just really rampant right now, I just feel like every study that comes out, it's just like it's just higher rates of dementia and Alzheimer's and all those kind of things. What are some things that we can do, some, supplements, whatever, that help support an aging brain?
Yeah. So with that, I always typically suggest like first doing the foundational fundamental free things. And I know that you're on the same page with that too, Hope. Like it's lifestyle change and it's, nutrients and supplements.
Totally.
So the first thing is sweating, whether that's sauna or exercise. I mean, sauna is ideal because you're going to sweat a lot more, but if you're just sweating out toxins from your skin, like that's the most absorbent tissue and organ that we've got, as humans. If we sweat out toxins through the skin, it's going to help take off a big burden from the liver from needing to detox. So the liver and the whole body will use so much energy just to detox out from the blood and the liver. But if you're sweating things out, it just frees up a lot of energy. And, anyone who has either done a rigorous exercise or sauna, I'm sure everyone listening has done that. They know, and we know how good that feels to the brain and just the whole body when you sweat and you cleanse it out. So regular, consistent sauna. There's a study in Europe, and basically looking at if a person's doing 4 minute, 20 minute, or 4 20-minute sauna sessions a week. It's significantly correlated with lower dementia and Alzheimer's rates. So that just makes natural sense. Obviously, eating as clean as you can, like just limiting the amount of pesticides or toxins that are either in the food or the water that are around you, limiting that, and then getting into the things of, for me, the big ones, again, it's the omega-3s, specifically the DHA. Like we could do multiple shows, even just on the brain benefits of DHA, because there's so much out there. But DHA, lion's mane mushroom, I love rhodiola, the humic and fulvic as well. I mean, there's studies out there talking about fulvic specifically, how it relates to the tau proteins that Alzheimer's brains will develop, and sort of helping with that. Ginkgo biloba, the ginseng, another strong one. I think that those are really like the main big ones. Bacopa, it's a strong Ayurvedic herb that a lot of people use for the brain. Those are like the really big ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that list. That's such a good list. And I'm glad that you mentioned other things besides supplements, because I think that's the other piece. And there's a piece that I was talking to the people who were at my workshop. Like, you can't out supplement a bad lifestyle, right? You can't out supplement a bad diet. And I know we hear that all the time, but I don't think it really sticks with people, because they'll come to me like, well, I've been taking this and this and this and nothing's working. But it's like, well, yeah, you haven't done anything to address all these other things. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, the lifestyle, the sweating, the diet, and all that, because obviously we know that it all works together. Like, we're not just trying to throw supplements at stuff and hoping it works without changing anything else.
Right.
So I thank you for mentioning that. Okay. I mean, I could ask you questions all day, but I'm going to be respectful of everybody who's listening, your time, everybody's listening time. And as we're starting to wrap up, I do have another question that I want to ask you. But before I ask you that, do you have any final words of wisdom for people listening? Anything that we haven't touched on that you want to mention that kind of ties into everything that we've been talking about?
I think just that, first, I'm very thankful for this hope, because for all the reasons, but going back to when I really got into this, for me personally, I know, so many people listening probably had the same experiences. Those of us that get into natural healing and natural health, often it's been like, we're the outcasts and we're the crazy ones, but it's very basic science. It's very easy to understand, just at a, fundamental level, that yes, what you put in your body is going to have an impact on you. And if it's clean and good and nutritive, it's going to help. And if it's not, it's going to have the opposite effect. So my point is that it's really amazing, for me, in my experience, having learned about this stuff and been doing things, now it's so easy and routine to have conversations like this with people like you, and you're doing cool, amazing things out there and helping people heal. And, it's just awesome that this information is just growing exponentially around the world, and it can't be stopped. And it's truly so exciting to see it.
Totally. I totally agree. Yes, I love it. And for people like you who, took the leap to do what you're doing in this company that you started, and your commitment to the quality and, upholding the standards so people have options for good quality supplements. I mean, I think it's great. So I'd say the same to you. Same to you.
Thank you, Hope.
Yes. Okay. The last question, actually, before I ask you that, let everybody know where they can find out more about you, your company, all the things.
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram, YouTube, that will be starting up more, but Instagram, I'm active on. We're active on Instagram as a company. Ascent Nutrition, go Ascent Nutrition is the handle. I know we'll have links to get to the website through you, and there'll be a discount code there as well. So I'll just leave that there. But you can find me on socials, Lance Schuttler, my website, lanceschuttler.com. And we're active and out there. And there's so many cool things, Hope, that we're working on that are very, very close. Things that are really going to help a lot of people. And it's not just that, they're not even really supplements. It's things beyond that, but it's health and healing and lifestyle and, some really awesome things.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're here for it. So we'll be watching. Thank you. I love it.
Yes.
Okay. The last question I want to ask you that I like to ask everybody, what do you think is the most important thing you can do to live with purpose?
Find what you love and have that be part of your reason and mission for why you wake up every day. It's easy to get stuck into routines and ruts and habits and mindsets that don't serve us. I mean, I am certainly there in that, no doubt. But the point is that when I've found what am I actually doing? Like, why am I getting up every day, continuing to work through challenges or even the good times? Finding that has helped me to just keep going, because there's been many times where it would have been very easy to quit during this, because as you know, building a business of any kind, it doesn't really matter what it is. It can be challenging. It pushes you to new levels of growth personally, professionally, in all the different ways. And so just having that why, and my why is really just to help relieve suffering. I saw what happened with my father, and a lot of people around us saw, and certainly so many people are dealing with that even right now. What I've wanted to do is just simply offer people hope and real solutions that can work. Now, obviously, it's not going to work for every single person, but if you can give people realistic hope and a real solution that can have, either small or dramatic effects in positive ways, then that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Such a good answer. Thank you, Lance. This was so good. It was just the insightful conversation we would have. So thanks for educating all of us and for giving so much good information. And the links to everything, of course, that Lance talked about are going to be in the show notes. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Hope. This was amazing.
Thanks for listening to Hopeful and Wholesome, y'all. If you found value in this week's episode, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a review to let me know what you thought. I'd love to know what you find useful in these episodes so I can know how to provide the most value I can to my listeners. And if you have topics you'd like to know more about, I'd love to hear those as well. So shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's @TheHopePedraza, or you can visit my website, hopefulandwholesome.com. Thanks, y'all.